Yeah, okay, are we ready to start talking about this book? Because I have so many thoughts. Like, so many. I have had an existential crisis over this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like, hurting my brain.
Oh my god. Okay, let's talk about a book. I got on Kindle because I couldn't order it at the store.
Here.
It's really pretty. It's really pretty. Did y'all know it's been nominated? It's like a Nebula finalist and was also nominated for like a Hugo Award.
I have no doubt. This was like so interesting. And okay, the description of the author, I just have to read this. Is it G or J?
J-Y.
J.Y. Yang is a
I think it's J-Y.
J.Y. Yang is a lapsed journalist, a former practicing scientist, and a master of hermitry. Same. A queer, non-binary, post-colonial, intersectional feminist. I'm like, that is the best description of a person. Like, oh my gosh. Thank you for being you. Like, that's what I want to say to her. They. That's what I want to say to them. Yeah.
I just want to say that the book was nominated for an award called the Kitschies, and the category that was awarded for, it's a British awards thing, annual like literary prize.
Kitschies.
Wait, the 5 categories are all different colored tentacles. This book was nominated for the Golden Tentacle for Best Debut Novel. What a book. What an award.
I know. Okay, so we're just, like, having a lot of connections to tentacles lately, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's just become a thing.
It's all...
I don't know if you ever got this, but I think, like, AO3 Tag of the Day, like, posted something about, like, tentacles, and then I found the fic, and then I read it, and then I made my roommates read it, and I don't know if y'all saw it, but I snapped like a dramatic reading of him reading this tentacle fic.
I so don't understand the fascination with tentacles. But
the thing is, like, mating tentacle.
But like, it's so prolific is the thing, is it's such a thing, and I'm like, how did this become like a massive kink for so many people?
Anime.
I know, but I'm like, where did it even become a fascination? Is just I won't understand. I can't understand it.
I don't know.
I can't. But golden tentacle. Well done. And correct me if I use incorrect pronouns, because I use incorrect all the time. Like, just for like.
The beginning was so confusing because the twins both use they, but they're also referred to together a lot.
I know, so I kept on messing that up over and over. So that was like, I totally understood.
I think that's kind of the point, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not really different people yet.
Yeah, that's true. So it was good, but it was very. I was like, I totally get what you're doing here, but at the same time, it is making my brain work a lot extra hard, because
I kept on getting distracted from the plot by like the little like hints of like references to just the way gender works. I was like, oh, okay. Like they were like right before Akiha leaves, he's like, is that how you say it? Like Akiha or K? I don't know. Right before he leaves, he's like, I had this much confirmation medicine, and I'm like, oh.
I know, and they're like, they rebuilt their bodies using magic to make, but, because I was wondering, I was like, how do they in the street know who's been confirmed and who hasn't, and how do they know if it's a boy or a girl, and then I was like, how, like, if they never become confirmed, like, I was thinking,
I think that's a really rare thing, though.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, then do they create like the sex parts, and before then, like, what is it? And then
they said that the priest people, like, they inhibited adult features, or before confirmation. I'm like, so are you saying that you don't have puberty, but are you saying, like, are they just constantly, like, going through the slack and, like, preventing people from, like, going through puberty, or do they take, like, a pill, like, in The Giver? Like, what does that mean?
Like, just, like, with just general, like, how their body is made, like, is it just, like, sealed up down there? And if so, where is, like, the peeing spots? And it was just, like, giving me a lot of thinking, as well as, like, but as well as being like, okay, but if it's such a big decision becoming a man or a woman, does that create even, like, more separation between men and women? And then I don't know.
But also, even from, like, the get-go, before they had even talked a lot about gender, and that became part of the question, when, like, the protector, like, has the twins, they say that they were conceived through, like, Slackencraft. And I'm like, what does that mean? Is this, like, a whole Jesus thing? Or are they clones of her, and that's why they look so much like her? Or is that just a fancy way of saying, like, artificial insemination? Does mother have a uterus? Like,
and
what
is that
mean?
why it was such a big deal that she had a son? Is because they were almost like they didn't get the they didn't get the other chromosome. And then I was like, where does the genetics come into this?
Does it matter?
I know, and I was like, and then what does it mean to be a man and a woman if they grow up not being gendered? Then, like, do they suddenly, like, all the girls, like, turn into liking pink? Is that how is the, like, gender roles for men and women? Is it more? Yeah, is it?
That was fine. Like, I was like, oh, okay, so it's just something they choose. But then, right after, like, McCoy had, like, chose her gender, Akiha, like, media is like, oh, is she gonna start wearing, like, frilly dresses and being, like, la-di-da? And I was like, okay, I thought this was, like, without gender roles, but apparently some still exist.
Yeah, and then I was like, what does it mean to be a man and woman? And then I was like, it's just a word we came up with. And then I was like, does anything matter? We came up with every word. Everything that we see is just the human perspective. And then I was like, what about, like, animals? Animals, do they recognize, like, mother and father, those roles? And then, like, I just kept on spiraling, and so I questioned the entire universe for a little while. I was like, nothing.
It was interesting, but it was very distracting from the narrative. Because they would just drop little, like, clues, and I was like, what? And does this mean for the rest of it?
I know, and just they have such, like, intricate descriptions on, like, the science behind the magic, which I was like, yes, because they're...
I kept on forgetting what each one did, though.
Yeah.
I don't think that was important, but it was a little confusing.
Yeah, but so I was like, this is such great world building, where I would have a question, and then they would explain it, like, with the how they take pictures, and they went into the whole science of being able to record it. And then they have painters that, based off of the recording on the metal, they're able to paint these pictures.
I really, really wanted this to be like a Mistborn level, like, length, detailed fantasy, because it was, and it went through so much time, and it had such a detailed magic system, and then all of a sudden brought in, like, technology, and I was like, I would read, like, a 500-page tome that goes into all of this, and like, maybe doesn't jump. Like, you get a lot of their childhood, and then all of a sudden they start skipping, like, decades.
Yeah, I almost didn't need the plot. I was, like, perfectly happy just reading about how everything worked.
There really wasn't much plot.
I, like, forgot that the plot was happening a lot of the time, just because I was like, man, this is so interesting.
Well, there wasn't much plot. I feel like, I guess a lot of it was secondhand. Like, it was easy to understand what the problems with the Protector's rule was. I thought it was very Avatar, like, benders, not benders.
Yeah, I feel.
And, like, they wanted technology. And then he, like, doesn't kill her, and I'm like, understandable, but also, like, I'm like, what?
Definitely should have killed her.
What does any, like, what, like, was this just, is this gonna, because there are two more of them, I'm like, is this, like, expanded upon, like, do you fall afterwards, or are the next two, like, filling in the gaps, or is this all just, like, a vehicle for, like,
world building?
For like world building about, like, the magic and, like, the gender system, or I feel, or maybe just she just had snippets of their lives and didn't have much of a plot, because I feel like it's a creative enough feat what she did without having to think of enough of the plot. So
yeah,
the majority of the second book is after this one.
Oh,
okay.
So it comes in decades after this, and it's Makoya's story.
Okay.
So they'll fill in backwards, I think.
Yeah, because her whole...
I'm going to order it next week.
Yeah, her whole, like, going, like, through, like, working on the inside, and, like, how has that worked, and what has changed?
That was so interesting, and we got none of it!
I know. Okay, one of the things that, like, I was, once again, like, man, I need to... broaden my mind was when they started talking about the Protector, how I automatically assumed it was a guy and it ended up being a woman, and part of her strength was having the children, and I was like, man.
I mean, I got that from, like, the synopsis. I thought that they, I didn't know that it had any kind of, like, gender motif going on. I thought it was about, like, two twin sisters, for whatever reason. So, like, I went in and was like, oh, this is the mom. And then, like, and they're like, of course, McCoy is a girl. And then I kept on waiting for Kia to also be a girl, and then he wasn't. And I was like, did I read this in the, like, blurb wrong? I did.
Yeah, I must have read it wrong, because I was expecting the Protector to be a guy, and then it wasn't. I was like, yeah, switching, messing with my idea of gender roles. Like, way to go. It made me do a lot of thinking on how I perceive people, which I was like, this is always good, because I'm very much the majority, and so I need to change a lot of my perception of the world. So I was like, yeah. And, like, the culture is all, you get so many different, like, Asian cultures, like, snippets of them through different category, like, races and different things. So I was like, ugh. This is, like, it inspired me so much because I'm right now world building for my book series. I know. So I'm, like, going real in depth on the world building. I was like, so much of this I'm going to be able to, like, use as, like, what you should do, instead of, like, J.K. Rowling leaving so many plot holes.
Okay. The romance in this book was very... like, you just meet this boy, and she's just like, she slaps his knee. Yeah. She's like, I'm like, oh my god.
I know, such a dork. It was like 0 to 60 immediately. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
But then
that was some.
But he is also, I was like, he's like the one material. Like, he's the guy that you marry, obviously. Like, that's just.
Yeah. I want to know, like, did they get married? Did he change the rules for her? Like, okay, I said he
so.
would? But then also, what was the, like, casual, like, making out between, like, the two of them there? It's a little weird.
Well, their daughter dying before Akehar could meet her, like, actually destroyed my heart. I was like, this is dumb and
that fucked me up.
Not okay, and just, like, stop right now, please. Yeah. No.
I mean, I kind of, like, as soon as she came and said she was pregnant, I was like, shit, this ain't gonna go well.
When she, like, made the flower for him and, like, sent him gifts all the time.
The flags.
But I love how they had a gif. Like, they sent him a gif of her.
Yes.
Like a little 5-second loop. Well, that was another thing about, like, I can't pronounce his name. Yo Chung?
Young Chung.
Yeah, like he
Young Chow.
Young Chow. Like, he didn't want to get, like, physically altered. And that was interesting. but also just kind of like said.
And they talked about it as well, having a child, and I was like, so how would you genetically do that? Because like the gay relationships were like super normal, but then I was like, how do they genetically do it? Or can they do it through the Slack?
But also, like, it seems like the kind of thing that wasn't like a big deal, because like nowadays, like couples of like couples that don't have like a sperm person and an egg person and a carried person, like they have all of these different options and considerations, and it takes time and money and planning. But like they were just kind of like, oh, is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
And so it's like there has to be a kind of norm for how that would happen. What is it?
I know. I want to know so much about this.
But like it was weird. There was so much shorthand. I feel like I went into it and I knew it was a novella, but I didn't understand that it was a novella until they started like skipping so many years, and so much shorthand happened of like kind of understanding like these kinds of plots, like understanding everybody's unrest and the relationship with like the protector, but also their relationships. Like every person you met had to be important. Every person who kind of got named.
Like Lady Han or whatever. I was like, I want to know her relationship with the protector. Like, how did she lose her eye? Like,
I know, that's so right. But she was the protector's concubine.
Yeah.
How did she leave?
And what's the concubine system? Because they said concubine and something more, and I was like, I thought concubine was already lovers. Like, what's the something more?
Well, concubine is kind of like a position that you're like hired for, or like picked for. I feel like that was just kind of like they had like a much more emotional, intellectual relationship as well.
It's a court position, so she held part of the court.
Okay.
That's so interesting that you say it's short. There's a lot of shorthand, because I feel like go ahead.
Yeah, because we just had to interpret things. But it was kind of expected for us to understand.
I don't know, maybe it is just that way. But I feel like I kind of got all the shorthand. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh,
well, that's why it is shorthand. I feel that.
And I was like, I don't know.
That's why it is shorthand, because it's like, we'll give you this little bit, but we're trusting you to understand that it means this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it was a novella. And I want to know why it's a novella, but it's a novella series. I don't know. I'm intrigued. Hopefully I can be like disciplined enough to get around to reading the other two. Is the third one out
yet? July, I think.
Okay.
I have her Twitter open. Or their Twitter open. 7/31. That's not June, right? That's July.
That's Harry Potter's birthday.
Oh, it is.
It's also JK's birthday. She gave him her birthday.
That's the...
Jewel, I feel like I haven't heard from you. What else do you have to say about the book?
I know, you picked it.
Yeah.
And you seem really excited about it. Like, shut us up,
I still am.
please.
I really I loved this book. I felt like it spoke to my soul. It was very good. Aside from my confusion, I enjoyed it and thought it was like a very good piece of art. I feel like it spoke to my soul. The big part was the choice for Akeha to be able to make that I wouldn't call it a transition, because that has a meaning in the real world, but that switch, or the
confirmation.
The confirmation from this non-binary to male feels a little like, did I write this book or something, or was this book written for me? Which I guess it kind of was, as an Asian person, because she's from Singapore, and it's science fiction using a lot of kind of mythology that I would understand. But I just feel like the way Akeha was characterized, like his anger, and even before he recognized his anger, and his relationships with his twin, and the way that she kind of knew before him that she was a she and that he was not yet there, and the way that he kept his distance without keeping distance, like, just really, really, like, spoke into my soul. It's the same reason Black Panther really, like, oh my god, I cried the whole movie. It was awful. Because the people next to me were like, so what did you think of that movie? And they were like, oh, I thought it was, like, not, I didn't really get it, but it was great. And I was like, you fool.
Who said that?
I was, like, two, like, white dudes in their 20s. And I was like, well, yeah.
I think I was potentially the only white person in my showing besides Justin.
I watched it, like, 2 weeks late.
I saw it in Harlem, so.
The part of the Black Panther thing that really struck to me was how the people in Wakanda could choose how far or close they were to the technology that made them Wakandan. Like, you had the people on the border who were just, like, literally farmers, but also with their, like, magic shields. And they could choose, like, oh, if we want to live in the capital, we could live in the capital, and if we don't, we could do whatever. And this book, the Black Tides, was so filled with that. Like, you can choose.
Choice was a big motif outside of gender. Like, the title, The Black Tides of Heaven, and I choose to swim against the current.
Yeah. And it was filled with so much hope, too. Like, the way the book ended, with Akeha's standoff with the Protectorate, which was, like, totally...
I get the kind of, like, emotional payoff of that, but I'm also like, what the fuck happened?
That was totally super Type 2. That was like, the Protectorate's a tiger mom. Although I don't know if I'm okay with that stereotype, but, like, that relationship of mother and son, of this all-controlling mother who has all this power and all these flaws that you see and yet are covered up by other people, or that is totally a very Asian-centric way of relating between, like, generations.
Yeah.
And so for the author to stand up against that and say, no, but I have the power as a result of my choice, and to write Akeha into a situation where his choice led to him having another choice, which led to him having power over the situation, is super freeing. Maybe, I mean, not in my story, but in a lot of other people's stories, especially a lot of queer Asians, where their parents and their family put them in a situation of double jeopardy. So for JY to write, the author to write it like that, like, the fact that Akeha chose not to kill her, and the fact that he was even in a position not to kill the Protectorate, I think was just, I was like, that never happens in real life. And I've seen it in, a lot of my friends whose families I know, and I'm just like, man, there's no help, but there's also there's no out, but there's no easy fix. So it changed the paradigm of helping me imagine, like, what would it look like for a lot of those people, the queer Asians that I know, to have a choice in their situations. I don't know, but this is crazy, blowing my mind. I think all of them, I'm going to give it to all of them.
Yeah.
It's like a $4 Kindle book or something.
Yeah, it is.
Like, easy gift.
Actually, I'm going to return it.
Yeah.
Because I've already read it within the first 7 days, so.
You should. And then buy the second one. I wanted the art, so
it's
beautiful.
I found it
It's so good. So that's why I bought the copy.
Who is it? On the cover.
They said, though, I read something that they had said in an interview that they loved the cover because it captured Akeha's perfect grumpiness. Like his forever grumpiness.
So grumpy.
I loved their introduction. I felt like I was a little confused at first because you see Makoya jump down. Oh wow. Grumpy
is my dwarf. I am Grumpy.
What Grumpy looks like. Grumpy has brown hair.
No, this one is the little, like, smelly, cute little dwarf. Hold on, I have a different shirt. Wait, I will find it. Where is my Grumpy shirt? I have a Grumpy surfer tank top.
Oh my god, I love it.
And Grumpy is I.
That could happen, and I want it. Oh, he doesn't have brown hair. He just has a brown cap.
He just has a brown cap, and this one is
it's
light brown.
Blown.
And he smells like apples, apparently.
Nice.
Kind of. I don't know.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is how little emphasis is put on physical descriptions of anyone. Like,
I loved that.
Yeah.
I think like not everybody does it well, but it worked.
Mm-hmm. With theirs, yeah. So it was interesting because I didn't visualize anyone really, other than almost their like presence in the Slack, which I thought was interesting because you get the idea of their aura and personality, but none of the physical descriptions. So it's kind of you don't really. It's kind of like that Tumblr post where you just kind of see them as a blob, but you understand the feel of the blob. So and even though their descriptions, they're like didn't go super in depth about the relationships, I still thought it was really good. One of my favorite quotes was when Akeha was looking at Mikoya and Senjay, and it said he looked at the two of them and saw a perfect circle. I was like, that is so beautiful. Like that. It's like
I loved how they kept coming and like they kept on whenever they would see each other. They just their hands would kind of come together. Just like they'd walk forward and they'd hold hands.
Yeah, because it's not the way that usually people do it, where they're like, it's these two perfect halves, as if they're not like a individual by themselves, but making it a circle as like they are just like in harmony and they're a part of something together. I was like, that's like so beautiful. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
the way they were introduced, like the twins were introduced, was like a little confusing. I don't know who was going to be who because, like, once again, the whole very confused. Is it a plural or a singular pronoun? But like Mikoya was like they said she like fell down. She like jumped down with like her fists and she was fierce. And I was like, oh, is this like our protagonist, the one who's like the different one? Because that's what the little synopsis said. And then Akeha like comes down and is like quiet and like staring. And I thought it was going to go the other way around. And I was just very like intrigued. But then it made sense because like McCoy is the one who's much more like outwardly emotional. And like and so like after the first time when we see them through the abbot, then we're in their heads and it makes more sense. But I think it was interesting that, like, we were very quickly off, like, this is what everyone else must see them as. Yeah. Because we know that, like, McCoy is very, like, emotional and, like loving and, like, a little, like, jumps from, like, a lot of emotions really quickly. But because, especially since she's the prophet, everyone else must see her as this, like, fierce, powerful thing. She has, like, so much knowledge.
And even when he was talking, Akeha was talking, he's like, I built her up as this otherworldly thing, and I forgot that she was just a human. So, yeah.
And then Akeha, he's, like, wandering around, and everybody's like, what are you doing? And, like, he has a purpose for leaving. And, like, it's what he needed to do. But everyone else is just kind of like, what are you doing? And it comes back to, like, when they first saw him, he's just standing there staring.
What I love the most, my favorite scene is on page 199. It's when he goes to that bar, CD Inn type place. And, like, just murders some dudes. The way Akeha never recognizes how powerful he is, but every time there's something that happens, he's the one that kills stuff. Yeah, like that.
And he counts. He counts them.
Yeah, and he counts them as like these sins that he needs to like bear witness to, but he never recognizes that how many other people in the like protectorate realm can just like throw out their hands and kill 3 people, or just burn someone's body in the middle of an inn. Like he doesn't recognize
like an atomic bomb. Like that's an atomic bomb. Like there was radiation.
Yup.
And then he has to throw away the poor guy's food.
That makes me so
that hurt me.
The way that he.
But, like, that was another shorthand thing. Like, we jumped years, and then, like, we were told about their relationship by the fact that he's like, oh, I made food, and then his reaction to, like, oh, is it gonna be good food? And then he's like, oh, I have to give it up, and he's like, oh, I feel bad, I have to make them make food in the future. Like, that was just, like, a really shorthand for, like, these people are fucking domestic.
Yeah. No, my favorite was, I think it's on scene 196, where he's like, talking about the atomic bombs, it's like at 3 a.m. He's like, we should call them sunballs. And then young Chow is just like, you woke me up for this. And then he calls him a turtle bastard. I'm like, I love that.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Reference to something that happened with them.
I know.
Turtle bastard.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite quotes though is
I wanted more humor like that.
Is Benjay talking, and he's talking about instead of people being like, you're never given what you can't handle, which like a person with chronic
I hate that.
I know, a person with chronic illness, like I hear that all the time, and like people being like, oh, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I'm like, freaking don't tell me that. And he said, my personal belief, I don't care about fortunes. I care about doing whatever you can with whatever's in front of you because it's the only thing you can do. And I'm like, that's pretty much the definition. And with long distance as well, it's just like, people are like, how do you do it? And I'm like, you just do it because it's the only thing you can do. With having chronic illness, you just live your life because it's the only thing you can do. It's not anything like mystical and I'm this hero. It's just doing what you have to do. And so I really love that, like, the philosophy in this about, like, the fate and the fortune, and, like, that really spoke to me. Like, I cried at that part, I will say.
I like that, too, because I don't know if it's, like, an actual Bible thing, or if it's just one of those weird things that, like, religious people have picked up. Like, eye for an eye is not the Bible, that's Hammurabi's code. But, like, it's like something along the lines of, like, it gives you can handle, but, like, they throw God into the mix. And my mother says it all the time, and I don't like it. So, like, I also liked that because I had never been able to figure out what I did think in place of that.
Yeah. And that, it worded it. So much of this was wording my, like, philosophy in life. And I was like, damn, like, this, like, I felt like I was educated on Asian queer, like, culture. Like, that was a huge education for me. And so this was, like, rocked my world. Like I said, it changed so much of my beliefs, or not like my beliefs, but taught me how to rethink my own thinking patterns. But then I was like, and so it taught me so much, but then it also spoke to me so much with a lot of that, just because I hear so much of, like, the everything happens for a reason, you know, God only gives you what you can handle,
except my mother says it in Spanish. I forget.
That's not true.
Yeah.
The whole point is, if you believe in God, you can't handle it.
I don't get that, like, everything happens for a reason thing. But, like, when, like, shit happens in my life, like, specifically me, people tell specifically me, it's like, oh, but you're so strong, you'll be fine. And I'm like, I don't care if I seem like a slightly stronger character than other people. Shit's still hard.
Yeah. Stop
using that as an excuse to not be supportive.
Yeah. No, so that really spoke to me. The only thing that I was confused about a lot of the time was with Benjay, Akeha, and Makoya.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be an incest thing? Because he was, like, weird about it. And I was like, I know that a lot of Asian culture, as I've learned through manga searches, is, like, a lot of, like, incest references. And so I was like, oh god, is that what this is going to be? And so I was like, oh shit. But then it ended up being him into Benjay. And so I was like, what is happening?
That's what I thought. And I was like, because I had thought from my misreading of the synopsis that they were both going to be girls, I was like, is he going to choose the gender because of them and then, like, their relationship, and then end up regretting it? Because I also thought that, because they did make reference to that, like, of McCoy's daughter, like, she declared at 3 and never changed her mind. I'm like, oh, so do people change their minds? How does that work?
Yeah. What about gender fluid?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, can Akeha be just forever non-binary?
See, I read him for some reason as male right away. Or not male, but, like, near as he developed. I was getting, around the same time I felt like that he was starting to come to terms with it is when I started noticing it.
And I feel like that's just very good craft.
Mm-hmm. I read the Thenjay kiss as a second moment of choosing, where he had just chosen that week to become male, but then he chooses his sexuality of, okay, I'm male, but do I like men or women? Or
I thought sexuality was even more fluid and nebulous than gender was in this book.
I was really relieved because I was worried that with like almost the emphasis in gender roles by choosing that it would be the emphasis on sexuality. So I was really glad that they did that, because I'm like, non-binary queerness is like something, or like transgender queerness is something that isn't recognized a lot. So I was like, oh god, I hope it's not but of course this author is amazing, so they of course went to representing, which I was glad about.
Well, they avoided the moment of dysphoria that accompanies being transgender by skipping altogether. You have to choose one and transition to the other, which I thought was like,
they mentioned, like, that's what, like, so much happened. Like, they said they meditated for a month, and then the doctors changed their hips, and then they had to take a medicine. I'm like, how long do you have to take this medicine? Yeah. Like, is it, like,
the years or something? Young Shah did not take the medicine.
I really was glad, because I feel like if a transgender person read this, that's what I went with kind of working my book. It's like kind of a similar thing, where it's just like, it was normal, and it wasn't like biased, like prejudiced against this. And so it's like, if I was that person reading this, it's like such a safe space where it's like, there's, even if it's a fictional world, a world out there exists where it's like completely acceptable to be this, and it's not out of the ordinary. And so I was like, that is so cool that they're giving these people a place where...
Also, though, like, what would that kind of same, like, thinking be if they didn't have the weird science medicine stuff?
Yeah.
Like, if it was just, like, no magic-y.
Another one of the quotes that I really liked was when they were talking about, like, free will and stuff and fate, where it was like, do you believe in fortunes? And
what is that? They were like deist, like where you think like God's a clockmaker and then just lets the clock run.
Whereas
that's what like Young Chung. I have no idea what his name is.
Young Chow, I think. Yeah.
Oh, damn it!
Where it's the Almighty decides our circumstances. He doesn't decide our actions. It's what.
Why is God a man?
That's true. But yeah, the decides our circumstances, but doesn't decide our actions.
Life, what makes life women? I'm so sorry. Please say what you're saying again.
Oh, just the he decides our circumstances, but not our actions. And I was like, that is so much how I believe.
That's so true.
I was like, this is the.
I want to ask if J.Y. Yang is like low key some sort of, especially in Singapore, a lot of religion. If you're not one of the traditional Chinese religions, it's not conservative, but it's traditional Christianity. It's not Catholic, but it's a little more more orthodox. And so a lot of that, the theology of the book feels very orthodox to me, but it's never outright. Yeah. So I want to like send a tweet and just be like, so tell me more about this.
I love that this is another book where it's like fantasy and non-Christian that makes me understand my own beliefs more. Like, I love those that challenge my beliefs, or not like challenges them, but makes me think about spirituality and like confirms who I am more. I just love, and they put so much thought into this, and I just think that's so.
Yeah, there's so many, I guess, like, talk is a big word of saying, of like, art or different works of art that make you, like, question what you believe. But like you said, I definitely think there's something for, like, art that makes you reevaluate and, like, confirm what you believe. It's
kind of like the Philip Pullman novels, how they really challenged who I was and made me think about what do I really believe in. And I feel like this was kind of on the same level with changing who, like, it's one that made me really, you know, so much of prejudice is growing up with, you know, learning a certain belief, and the way you grow out of it is by actively changing until that becomes a habit. And I was like, this is one that will challenge me to actively change my thinking until it becomes a habit to understand, you know, queerness. So I thought that was really cool. No one told you life was gonna be this way. I think we got an ask.
Oh my god! Whoa. Sorry. I'm very loud. I need to calm down.
It's so weird you're her. I don't know her actual name.
Rachel!
Rachel, yeah.
She's lovely! She coached me through, oh god, I can't speak English. Talking about, I was, like, trying to apply for a job, and I missed the deadline by, like, 30 seconds, but, like, it was in, like, the middle of the night, and she's like, yeah, you can do it, no, yeah, do this, and I'm like, why are there such nice people in the world?
We
talk about good romance book, because The Royal Wedding has truly fucked me up, and now I read about a bunch of sick fools so that I find my chill again. I mean, honestly, we all need some good romance fix.
I am ready. Romance novels. I got on a kick for a while, so.
Oh my god, I don't know any romance novels because, like, I don't come across them very often. We don't have any in the store.
Well, obviously, The Hating Game.
Obviously, but I've already read that 3 times.
I know. 3 times. 2 times.
Well, I read it like 1.5 times while I had it, and then I gave it to Jesson, and then I went and saw Jesson again, and then stole it and read it again, and then I just listened to the audiobook version, which wasn't in an Australian accent, which was, like, really disappointing.
Yeah. I read it, and then I immediately read it again, because that's how good it was. Trying to find my favorites. Okay. My first, if you want to read historical romance, is the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn. That's always where I take stuff.
I request being sent this, like, list.
I will add it when I edit in the notes. I'll be like, here's
nice
my books. I got into a weird, like, Scotland, like,
because you wouldn't read Outlander, so you read all the other ones.
Yeah, because I can't read Outlander because I can't deal with cheating. So I read all the other ones that aren't Outlander.
It is cheating, but I feel like it's done in, like, the most understandable way possible.
Yeah.
But, like,
yeah, the problem with a lot of the historical romance is some of my feminist ideals are injured.
That's one thing that is with Outlander. Like, it's very feminist, but not in a, like, blazing, bra-burning one. It's just that, like, Claire does what Claire does, and then Jamie's like, okay, yeah, because that's what Claire does.
Yeah. Now, that's my other one, that's romance that is, like, the slowest burn and makes me die inside.
I want some, like, hot burns. I want some, like, bonfires. Where are they?
I'm such a slow burn person that, like...
That's true. The thing is, it's so much more payoff.
Yeah, so Whitney,
hot
My
burns
Love...
are only good like, one shots, probably.
Yeah. Whitney, My Love by Judith McNaught. The, Perfect Chemistry series by Simone Elkeles is hot. I met her. She came to my school.
That one.
She came to my school, and I talked to her about writing for, like, an extended period of time.
No, I got that on my Kindle. I read that one multiple times because, I already had it there. So
such a
like,
good.
When I was bored, I'd be like, let's just reread this.
It's so good. It's very, like, she did a lot of research into making it, like, culturally, like, she wanted to add in the Hispanic culture for, like,
I learned how to curse in Mexican because of that book.
I know, but she, like, did a shit ton of research because she's like, I didn't want to make this, like, the white girl trying to write about, like, Mexicans. So she, like, did a ton of research, and she's so cool.
The sequels were about, like, different people, though, right?
Yeah, it's all the boys and
his brother.
Mm-hmm. It's the boys in the family.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what else. This is
she just shows up with, like, a jacket and her cheerleading skirt, and I'm like, wow, you planned this out.
Yeah. Another one where this is like younger people, they're like in high school, and there's no like explicit sex, but it's the cutest romance thing ever. Very Lily and James, like so Jilly, it's ridiculous. My Most Excellent Year by Steve Kluger. So it's like really obscure, and I don't even know how I found it, but it's freaking adorable. Then my other one, I'm gonna go to Rabbit.
I remember I was like on Kindle a lot in like 2011.
Yeah.
So like a lot of big names it wasn't as widely used yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant that all the titles on there were like a lot more obscure.
Yeah. Okay, and then this one is Read Bottom Up. And it's literally a social media AU, but like the entire book. It's all like...
I love social media AUs. Did you ever read like TTYL?
Yes.
The original like chat.
Yeah, this is all like between emails and texting. It's like the girl and her best friend and the guy and his best friend. And them like talking about this like super dysfunctional romance, and it's super cute. Okay, trying to find any other romances. Wallbanger, I can't remember who that's from, but that was super hot. That was not a slow burn. That was a fast burn. And Wallbanger, yes, it is what you think. It's about a guy, and she lives next door to this guy, and he like has really loud sex all the time, and so she like gets super mad at him, and so then it's like
that's a legit fic right there.
I know it's that's what I love about romance is it's all just like AUs. It's all just them like. Yeah, AUs. So hardcore.
AUs and tropes, it's magical.
That's good romance and fantasy, A Discovery of Witches. Have any of y'all read that?
No, but everyone in my store has read it, and I just keep on being like, oh, I'm gonna read it, and then I haven't.
Mm-hmm. If you liked the A Darker Shade of Magic and...
I haven't finished that one either!
What about Night Circus?
Oh my god, Night Circus. That's one of the ones I found on Kindle, like, when it came out, and I'm literally obsessed with it. Like, that's one of my dream roles if it's ever made. Here's the thing I figured out about the Night Circus. Like, there are people like, oh, I should make it into a movie, and I'm like, here's the thing. It can't be a movie.
No, you can't.
One, because it wouldn't get made well, it wouldn't be adapted well, but even a miniseries that would give it more time, I don't think they would do well, because the magic is not very showy. It's things that we've seen so many times in movies before, like, who cares? It needs to be a musical or a play. Oh my
god. Yes, a musical.
Right? But I don't think they're going to do it well. There's already a demo out because I think people had the rights for a hot second tried, and I hate it.
Yeah, no.
I hated the demo.
It's, the descriptions are so, like, out there, you can't capture it. So, like, no.
In another book.
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed with that book. That is one of my favorite books.
Yeah, same. That's top 10 books for me. Another one, Noughts and Crosses. It's a British book. I think I may have talked about it before, where it's an alternate universe where it's black people are the ones that have the social majority, and then white people are like the lower class. And so it's as if like racism was reversed, where it's like the history was that the white people were originally slaves and things like that. And so it's like a lot of social commentary, but then also super hot romance. That was one of the first sex scenes I read. My dad mistakenly bought it for me when I was quite young.
I think one of the first sex scenes I read was in like it was like a summer short story series in like my mother's Red book. Mm-hmm. And like each month had like a part to it, and it was really weird. It was like this woman, like, she's been married, she has kids, like, they're doing it, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he's like, I've been cheating on you, but it's only sex, it doesn't mean anything, you should just go have sex with a random person and then you'll understand too. And then like she goes to like this like singles island and like tries to have sex with people, and like it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And then the third part was in an issue that like we didn't have in like the bathroom stack of magazines. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what is this? Because I was like, you should just divorce your shit husband because he's trying to make himself, like, not guilty and putting the, like, burden of his infidelity on you.
Yeah.
But also, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. The first sex scene I read I was like really young, and it was in a book where they were like exploring Antarctica or something, and they got like trapped in a snowstorm, and they just like decided to have sex, and I was like, what is sex? I like didn't know until that moment because Texas doesn't do sex ed, so
we had sex ed, but I didn't get the whole like I got like I was like, this is how anatomy works to make children, but I didn't understand where the like pleasure aspect came in.
Yeah, no. I was definitely scarred for life. I think I was in like 5th grade at the time, and then I remember I learned about periods through a book too, through a Tamora Pierce fantasy book.
I need to read Tamora Pierce.
So good.
Oh my god.
So good. Yeah, that's how I learned about periods.
Nobody told me about her.
Oh my god, she's amazing.
She's like there's like fucking like Terry Pratchett, Tolkien, like Madeline L'Engle, and Tamora Pierce. I didn't know about her.
She's up there. She is amazing. One of my favorite fantasy series. But yeah, that's how, before I had a talk with my mother about it, I read it in there and I went crying into my older sister's room. Was like, is this gonna happen to me? So, oh my gosh. Jewel, you have romance books. Show me.
This was, no. I have the answer to the first sex I've ever read.
Yes.
This book that I accidentally bought from the bargain bin because I thought it was like the video game and there was going to be fighting. Well, there was fighting and vampires. There's also more than fighting with vampires. And with a cover like, no, and also, like, look at her, like, picture all over the back.
You should have known.
I probably should have known,
If
but...
it's a middle-aged woman wearing lace, you should have known.
I was a little worried. And then,
romance books to never read anything by Anne Rice. All of it is like super anti-feminist.
Just
and, like,
sue you. That's a whole part of fic history.
Yeah.
Is that she sued up the wazoo.
I know. She is also a trash human being. She, sued people for writing fic, and anything that's romance is super sketchy and like borderline rape, and made me. I, like, read, like, 3 pages of one of her books, and I was like, nope. And I've read Interview with the Vampire, and I liked it. Mm-hmm. But anything else, I'm like, yeah, you creepy. More.
Oh, I think this is not, like, the first time I read, a book, like, where people had sex, but I think this was the first time when, like, they wrote out the sex. Mm-hmm. Was, like, this book called, like, Suddenly Royal, and it's really... stupid. It's basically like a Princess Diaries AU, except she's like a college student and she becomes like a duchess, but then she like gets engaged to the prince throughout the thing, and they're both like birds of prey enthusiasts, and they bond over that.
I love that these books are so obviously like AUs of other books. I'm like, yes. Please. I recently read really good Miraculous Ladybug smut.
I'm so behind. I've hardly read any Miraculous Ladybug, and I also like the song that I've only seen as far as the Netflix has it. I know there's a lot more out, but I haven't seen it.
All of season 2 is literally like fanfic come to life. It's all like the biggest tropes ever.
When like Meredith's like, oh, you wanted to go on a date with Ladybug? Oh,
I know. And the latest one was literally, okay, I've literally read this 3 different times in fic where they want Adrian and Marinette for a fashion thing to dress up as Ladybug and Cat Noir. And they, like, won't put on the masks. It was, like, literally fanfic. And
wait, isn't that with the new episode? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. It's so cute. So I can't even handle it. Adrian is just like the cutest thing ever. So.
They're so. Oh, I love it.
All of it is adorable, and I can't handle it. So, yeah.
I've taken to only communicating to Thrush in Cat Noir gifs.
Yes, quality.
So anytime I need to say something, that's all.
Yes.
I send.
Quality.
I've not read a lot of romance. I think I didn't really get into it until I started reading fic, but then there was fic to read.
Yeah. And so much fic is better than romance novels, honestly. But, yeah,
it's better than novels.
Yeah. With Miraculous Ladybug, though, I forgot that it was a kid's show, and one of my students is, like, really into it, and I was like, wow, this is awkward. I was like, oh, shit.
Isn't it? I feel like a lot of my time, not a lot, but, like, a recognizable chunk of my time on Tumblr is trying to, like, decipher what the squad is talking about.
Yeah.
And so, like, Sinbin, as far as I understand, started off because, like, you're all reading, like, Miraculous Ladybug fic, and you're in the Sinbin because they're children, you had to age them up to make it okay.
No, it's the tags in, so, you know, in different fandoms, they have, like, different just, like, vocabulary, and so in Miraculous Ladybug, all smut is talked about as the Sinbin.
Sinbin, yeah.
And that's just
but
what
now it's just everything.
Yeah. I just laugh at myself. I realized the other day, so I started out writing fic and, like, reading fic because of Avatar The Last Airbender, Zutara, obviously.
What are some good ones?
See, my problem is I actually read it on the Nickelodeon website, because on Nickelodeon, they used to have a fanfic section, and so...
That was Quizilla, wasn't it?
Was what?
Quizilla, because Quizilla was its own thing, but then it got bought by Nickelodeon, and there was a lot of fanfic, but also, like, original fic on that.
It might have. It was, like, on the Nickelodeon website, and you would go there, and...
Did it have red stripes?
I can't totally remember. It was
but yeah, I did.
time ago. But yeah, so you used to be able to, like, change your font, so I would write in, like, purple, like, pretty font, and so... It was just, like, the dorkiest thing. You had, like, your sign-offs and stuff, and it was, like, like, the dashes and stars. But so I was, like, I didn't even know that there was, like, a smut section, because I never strayed from there. And so I was, like, I totally didn't understand that fanfic was anything other than, like, the super innocent thing.
I bet it was really steamy, because it's fire and water.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I know. I've never gone back to reading Avatar fic, because it's just, like, exists in this innocent world.
Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the old way.
Okay, how ride or die are you with Hogwarts Mystery? Because I'm pretty, like,
I'm so bad at, like, I really want to finish. Like, I want to find my fucking brother / I want to fuck Bill Weasley.
You can start dating in fourth year. That's what Andre told me.
Who is in fourth year? Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm still in second year because I don't play. I used to be like, oh, I have full energy. Let's go do this now. And now I'm like, I can wait.
Yeah,
but I'm still doing it.
It was Penny came up to me in one of the things and was like, that
must be so weird for you because you are Penny.
It is kind of weird sometimes, because I've, like, worn my hair exactly like her before, and so it is kind of
hair though.
I know, but so she was like, I just need you to petrify this person, and the options were like, no way, and, like, sure, and I was like, hell yeah, I will, like, petrify anyone for Penny. Like, right? What are you even talking about?
Where are you?
I'm in third year.
Oh my god!
So I've been to Hogsmeade.
I'm still, like, in the middle of second year. I've been so slow.
See, I get, like I said, I have obsessive personality, and so, like, once I get started on something like this, like, I go really hardcore. Video games, I don't play them very often because they will, like, consume my life, because I have to achieve the levels, like, I just have to. So I got pretty intense about it pretty quickly. And I've gotten pretty far. So it's great. I love it. I just met a new girl named Tulip, and she's like super intense. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, we're gonna do this. So that's how that's going. And I love all of the memes about it. That's like my favorite thing.
I finally got to call Snape a house elf.
I know. I was like, of course I'm gonna do this. Are you kidding me? So
I was really upset. I couldn't. There was finally like one thing. Oh, I think it's like, I don't know what y'all's houses did. But like the end of first year, like Gryffindor house, like a meeting.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't like offer up myself as sacrifice because I didn't have a high enough like courage level for it. And I was so pissed.
Yeah.
Because then fucking Angelica was like, oh, you're not gonna stand up for your house? And I'm like, I am 11 years old.
I know. That was stupid. See, they have the same thing in Hufflepuff, and I was like, who in Hufflepuff is realistically gonna do this? Like, this is not.
And then all we did was like eavesdrop on people.
Yeah. I was like, this is totally out of character. But I'm also ready to like throw hands with Marilla at any point in time.
It doesn't make sense if you're in Slytherin, though. Marilla, like, and Snape both hating you.
Mm-hmm. Snape likes me.
Obviously.
It's really weird. And I'm like, I hate you.
Is that just, like, an M thing, though?
It is. I've only had one teacher dislike me.
Energy thing.
Yeah. Honestly, with my heart condition and chronic fatigue and stuff, this game is so relatable with the energy. Everyone's like, oh my God.
I saw that! It's like spoons.
Yeah. No, I was like, this is honestly, like, literally my life right now, because my energy right now has been so shitty. So I was like, honestly, you're, like, talking to someone, and then you're, like, out of energy. I'm like, this is me. This is me.
I feel like I'm usually much drunker at this point.
I know. I haven't been drinking. I've been eating Jules cookies instead.
Yeah, cookie dough.
Things I have eaten today.
Really upset. I don't have
4 cinnamon rolls. That's what I have had throughout the day. That was breakfast, lunch, and dinner was cinnamon rolls. Because when you get a pack, it's like 5 of them, and I was like, you can't really eat them the next day, so I'm just gonna eat them all.
I mean, honestly, what else can you do?
I know.
Wait, I have to duel Bill, but Bill's like so great. I'm just gonna lose, and then like flirt with him.
That was a tough one, but I do love flirting with him. I love that Rowan is like so obsessed with him. Like, same girl.
Hashtag relatable.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, wait, who is writing? I don't know what her name is, but like Fight for the Right of House Elves, like Bill and Flurpick is like filling this need that I didn't know I had.
Okay, I'll have to read that.
Oh my goodness. Also, All Right Ginger, it writes like Femme Harry / George fic, and I'm so intrigued because neither that pairing nor Femme Harry ever crossed my mind. But I really like her writing, so I'm like, I like this, but I'm confused.
Monroe's Little writes Bellamy and Clark fanfic, I realize, so I'm like, help.
That sounds dangerous.
It does, but I'm still gonna read it because I love her. Sunshine in My Eyes just like wrecked me.
Oh yeah, I think I read that and like Just Stay Here Tonight like within like the same few days, and it literally just like triggered another like depressive.
I know, so bad.
But honestly, you just have Augustana on a loop. Like, you'll be the last one picking up the pieces. You'll be the last one standing up strong.
I know.
Making all the right things wrong.
I know. They break me. It kills me inside. I have not been up to date with my fics, though, because I got into an obsessive state with romance and then an obsessive state with manga, which is so difficult because so much of it is trash, and it's really hard to find the good stuff. So
I remember when I was like first trying to get into fic, I didn't really understand how you found it. Mm-hmm. And then Justin was like, I mean, you're just on Tumblr and you see people's lists. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there are links. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means. But now here I am, like neck deep in it. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's fics everywhere. I don't have time for all of them.
Yeah.
It's like you're always stuck in second gear when it hasn't been your day, your month, even your year.
Remember when C.S. Lewis encouraged readers to write Susan fanfic?
Yes. I love C.S. Lewis so much. Such a great guy.
I really for school I had to read a book, which is his version, I guess, of Dante's Inferno. But it's like this guy takes a bus to heaven. But he goes through purgatory, and then he goes to heaven. And, like, purgatory, like, when you first get there, you're close to everyone, and, like, the more miserable, the more farther out you go. So, like, he's, like, the big bads, like Hitler and Napoleon and maybe Judas. They're just, like, hundreds of miles away from everyone, just, like, hunched in their misery. Mm-hmm. And it's purgatory if you leave and go to heaven, but it's hell if you stay there. And then they take the bus to heaven, and heaven is much more real than any of them. So he's like, the grass is like shards of glass, and he like cuts his feet on it. And
is that Great Divorce?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to read.
It was interesting because he just writes a lot on like Episcopalian Catholic stuff because he was a later convert.
Yeah. Have you guys read Screwtape Letters?
No, but that's the much more famous one.
Yeah, that one
I read it recently.
Rocked my world, man. That one, it made me rethink how I treat other people and how I like understand. I've read a lot of his stuff, and did you know him and J.R.R. Tolkien were like best friends?
Yeah, that's why he has the frickin' what's it? Lamp thing. Street lamp. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, there is no way you can fit one into a fantasy novel. That just doesn't make sense. It just ruins the thing. And he's like, well,
screw you.
A lamppost.
I know. They were like frenemies, and that's a lot of J.R.R. Tolkien stuff, was he would like make fun, C.S. Lewis would make fun of him and stuff. So, but no, I read Screwtape Letters, and then I read the collection of, I can't remember what it's called, but the collection of his like speeches during World War II when he would speak over the radio. Mere Christianity.
Mere Christianity?
Yeah.
Right! We have these books. I could just go and take them. Nobody else is going to read them. I feel like our nerdiness surprised. Like, my sister, she's much more of a faux nerd. Mm-hmm. She likes the nerd culture, but I don't think she puts in the legwork.
Yeah.
But I'm, like, a total nerd, and I feel like that was, like, surprising to my parents. I don't know why.
Yeah. Because I was really weird when I was younger, and then I kind of transitioned into being normal for a while, and then once I got to college, I was like, F everything, I'm just gonna be exactly who I want to be, and not care.
I think I was vaguely normal sophomore year of high school, and then I just went off the rails into weirdness.
Yeah. I became normal in 5th grade. That was the first time I wore flip-flops and, like, clothing that my mother did not pick out for me, because I used to just have the same shirt in a different color, and I would just, like, wear them every day of the week. Like, my dressing up was a Nike polo. I thought that was, like, really legit. I never listened to anything except for classical music until 5th grade. Classical music and Broadway.
Valid.
And when I talk about my, like, OCD personality, I used to do a lot of jigsaw puzzles, but I would do them by doing the outline and then working my way in. I wouldn't just,
that just sounds like a very, like, smart method of doing it.
It was not, because it took way longer, because I would only let myself do each outline, or I used to sort every piece by what shape they were, and do it that way. I was, like, a really weird kid. My parents got me tested for a lot of things.
My parents did, like, no such thing. I should have been tested for so many things.
Yeah.
Because especially in America, you don't get diagnosed for anything until you go to, like, 5 different specialists and complain a lot.
No.
I don't know. All I know about being a kid is that everyone was really surprised that like I talked very young, but I would like have conversations with adults, and like this apparently set me apart. And I'm like, the kids my age don't speak yet. Who else am I supposed to talk to?
I'll be there for you.
Tell me about your book.
Well,
Were you also writing a book, or are you reading another book?
well, no, my poetry book, my month project.
I love it so much.
Yes.
I need to read it again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna print it this winter, so I'll send you a copy. I don't think I'm allowed to charge money for this because it has like Disney lyrics. But when I write the next one, it'll be all original. My goal is to submit the next one. I'm gonna write another. Well, the deadline is next April.
You should have like a Patreon page and be like, just for poetry writing, not specifically this work, which may or may not be copyrighted.
Copyrighted. I liked it too much to remove it because I had a whole big piece about it.
It's so good, and I love how it's the closest thing we're probably gonna get to you writing smut, because there's some sexy stuff in there.
I think the last fic I wrote was the closest you're gonna get. That was pretty physical.
That was much more emotional than the one where you were like, she's stripped and it's lace.
That's true. It's a little more. Yeah, the
Sorry,
poetry's more.
I love how you're like the most innocent of all of us, except for you're like the oldest. You're just like you're so adorable.
Oh no! Oh god, no! I'm a huge prude, but I'm also a huge slut. It's weird.
Same.
You're married.
I know.
You're also the baby. It makes no sense.
It's weird.
But I'm also in a long distance relationship, so I only see him like 4 times a year. So.
Long distance sucks.
It does.
I'm so long distance. I don't know who they are.
That's the best quote ever.
My voice is like echoing across my room and probably like down the hallway, honestly.
That's so funny.
All my roommates are out. It's fine. I can yell.
You can quote me on that.
Yeah, I will.
Take it.
Oh yeah, Jewel, tell me about your book. More ranting.
Yes, do it.
We were just talking about these things that are like challenging to what we believe in or how we see the world, and like I think reading this book, reading Black Tides, is like super perfect after having wrote the book or the poetry, because the whole Black Tides book was filled with this like not challenging but affirming that there are challenges. And one thing that it was weird because to me it was so obvious, but when you're the writer, I guess it's very obvious because you put it in. But like probably 2/3 of the book was like a series of prayers and visions I've had turned into poetry. And so it's, to me, super charged with like really specific religious imagery. I mean, that's because I wrote it and I was the one who, who sourced it.
Wait, your book?
Yeah.
I thought it was too. But maybe because I'm somewhat familiar with religious imagery, but I'm also like familiar with you as a person.
That's true. And there are some that were more obvious. Like Open Wide is like very obvious because that's the one about like the first word's like transubstantiation.
Oh, I definitely like snapped you about that.
Like Catholic word.
I was like, oh, Catholic kid.
But like all the natural imagery and all of the I think that, well, it was mostly the natural imagery was taken from things that I've read to source encouragement from myself, because as I was doing all the writing, a lot of it was answering these big questions in my life of like, what the hell am I doing? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? So I don't know. It's not really, people pick up what they pick up, and I think that's awesome. But the process of writing it was filled with these fraught moments, and so when I read people's responses, I was like, People like
I was very pleased. I'm this like weird. I don't know if this is like a weird like mothering friend. I can't take care of myself for shit, but I will mother the fuck out of other people. But like whenever like I will go through like the comments on Castle and like fucking beam because I'm like look they like Chris Thorne. Yes. And so like when everybody was like getting excited over your book, I was fucking ecstatic. I was like, yes, look at them go! Everyone read it! I told people at work, was like, my friend wrote a poetry book. It's really good.
My heart. This is the journal I did all the work in, plus some Google Docs. I can read one if that's like a thing for the recording. But I want you to do all of the audio, all of the podfics. I know you're often unpleased with it, but you have a very good voice for reading. I appreciate that.
I'm like the other side of tipsy, so I may cry because I'm like so proud of you. So
I'm like somewhere between tipsy and slap happy, so just lay it on me.
I'm pretty tipsy.
Yeah.
I do want to do more audio or podfics. They just take a long time.
I want to do something like that mainly because like I used to be very like I was a theater person. We did a lot of vocal exercises. I used to be very in control of this. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I used to be able to use it, and I feel like it's a very good exercise.
Yeah, well, I did choir for a year. When my senior year of college, I said I'm going to do something I'm really shitty at, and it's singing.
Oh.
So I like messaged the choir director at my church, and they're like, "Sure, come join." And then she stuck me next to the best singer in my section.
Well, that's how you learn, though.
And then I picked. Yeah, it was great because I didn't have to worry about making mistakes.
Yeah,
she covered me.
I have like 8-ish years of like formal classical training, and I feel like I need to use it better.
I had assignments about reading books aloud
my
teaching.
What?
I had assignments for reading books aloud for my teaching. That was part of our grade, was doing expression in reading aloud.
I think that's wonderful.
I know. So I have a bunch on here of me videotaping myself reading books aloud for
I have so many books. I need to make a list of books I want to send y'all. Wait, what is your fantasy series? Is I could be confusing with the book that I want to send you, but your fantasy series has like a lesbian princess. Does it have a lesbian huntress? No. Okay, then that's the book I want to send you.
Lesbian, like kind of samurai princess type of thing. And then
okay, so because I don't want to send something that's like exactly what you're trying to do. Okay, but I have a book I want to send you.
Yeah.
Unless you've read it already.
Please do. Yeah. That's the first book. Second book is Circus AU.
Circus AU.
I have like a nature lesbian poetry book I want to send Jewel.
So I
snapped you about this.
I have to tell you, one of my favorite parts is like once you get into more of like the gods of the book, they create like their species by capturing souls, and like the souls are stars. So like all the stars in the sky represent a soul. And so for one of the kings of like the Southern Kingdom are like a gay couple, and so they want to have a kid, and so they capture the soul of one of the stars to give them a child. Oh. And like I'm so excited for that scene. I'm so happy about it.
Stars.
It's like
you're giving me too many emotions. Like one, I'm just really happy for you and your mind and your creations and your excitement, but also I just love a fucking star aesthetic. Like that's my fucking URL.
I know, that's the
Lena.
the entire species that are like the gods but end up just being a different species than humans who have powers are all captured by stars, and that's the like it's like this whole like lore religion thing that I'm building, and it's so great because I love stars.
Oh God. Okay, so before I had like an awkward falling out with my accompanist, I was gonna actually make a formal recording as a gift to my mom, but then I had a falling out with my accompanist, so that never happened. But I was gonna like the song that like my URLs were from. I was gonna like do a proper thing of it, and now I'm like, should I just like talk to them again?
Stars. Hey, Jewel,
I don't know.
read a poem for us so I can cry.
Oh.
Yeah, do it.
Melina, my favorite compliment from the book is still when you describe the third one as star smut.
I don't remember this, but that sounds like something I would totally say.
I mean, it was
it
a
cosmic?
snap.
Was it like cosmic?
Or like,
smut or something?
yeah, it was like cosmic smut. Like,
Yes!
whoa.
Wait, I have this open on Safari. Let me just go.
It's like, it was the third one. So I have
No, I have the Dropbox open.
Mm-hmm.
No, just fucking show it to me. I don't want to get the
It's the
fucking
Star
app.
the Planet one.
Yeah.
I'll read.
See, I'm not even kidding. Like, I have it as an open tab on my Safari. What page number is it? No, yeah, wait. It's the star. Orbit me, hands twist carefully. Yeah, I'm not gonna read this out loud. Yeah, I stand by that.
I'll take it. It kind of was. I wrote that one when I wrote the original draft when I was really sad, and when I'm sad and stressed and overwhelmed, I listen to opera masterclasses.
I should do that.
They're so good.
I should do that when I'm home alone so I can practice.
They're so good. They're like,
y'all know I used to
like
record
Hall,
and now it's just like bullshit, like screechy because I have not practiced in so long.
They're so good. They give me like,
I'm an untuned instrument and it breaks my heart.
yeah, I'll make you cry.
Please do.
Read as a poem.
I will. I'll read Open Wide, and I'll tell you about the backstory too. So in September, I was working for. How do I describe this journey? Last September, the department that housed basically my dream job closed. So I had like my dream job with my like dream people working with, and my organization closed us down for different reasons. And in the moment, I was like, this is like life ruining. What do I do with my life? I thought I was made. And so I went through like a 2-month like job search process of like, what's okay? I need a job.
How do you do that?
Well, I stayed in the organizations, so I just applied internally, which was a little easier. But I thought about like other external. I was like, do I like start a startup? What do I do? Like, how do I get money? Do I like take a side hustle? Yeah. Do I move to the Bay Area and work on a startup?
Every so often, I'm like, am I at the point where I start selling my underwear?
Get in before that bill goes into effect.
There are sites where you can just sell people like unwashed underwear for like hundreds and then like thousands of dollars, and I'm like, you know what? I've got a lot of shitty underwear I need to get rid of.
I would totally do that because I like don't have a conscience about those things. I would do that for real.
So here's my thing though. I don't want other people to have my DNA.
Important.
Like I have like. I don't know what's gonna stick up there, like end up there if it's unwashed,
Steal your roommate's underwear and then sell it.
What?
Steal your roommate's underwear and then sell it.
Like, it's an option. I toy around with every so often.
Get in early before the bill.
I just really don't want people to have my DNA.
That's important. Those companies.
Which is sad because I feel like I should probably donate bone marrow because I'm mixed and that makes it harder to find a match.
Ask me sometime about how I feel about those DNA. I was a biologist for a while.
I can't. No, it's a private company. They can sell it to whoever the fuck they want.
Yep. And they lie about. Well, they don't lie about their.
But
methods.
they're not. The thing is, like, all of that shit is like not accurate. Because,
Yeah,
like there was a bunch of not even like accurate, but like they did a bunch of tests where they had like identical twins or triplets like send them out, and even if like the results aren't accurate, it should be identical for each like twin.
Right, but they're
and
not.
It wasn't. Like some of them were like a little bit different, but some of them were like vastly different. I'm like, well, that's just wrong.
They've done so much medical testing that I'm just like, whatever. So many people have my DNA at this point that, like, whatever. I've done so much genetic testing and shit like that.
Yeah.
That's what I did for a while. I was a geneticist type deal, but not for medical. It's for research.
Yeah. I've done.
I sound more interesting than I am. I promise I'm not that interesting.
I think that's how I like started following you. You I think you sent like I think I was like it was like Ella had been talking about like British lit and the stuff that she had studied, and then you were talking about how you're like, oh, I want to read like academic papers again, like I want to do like an academic paper podcast, and I was like, I want to listen to that.
I haven't done any.
I know, that's why I followed you, and it hasn't paid off yet.
I followed you because of the podcast reading fic.
Yeah.
Those are so much fun. I'm gonna do more.
Yeah.
I tried to do one, and then I couldn't get the voices right because I have no idea how to be masculine.
I just don't listen to them back. That's my rule. If I don't have to listen to myself, I'll just post it. Whatever. Then I'm not listening to it. I don't have to be critical. Other people can be critical. Okay, I'll read it.
Do
Yeah.
it.
So, crazy job hunt, and the answer that came back to me was, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters who you are. And I'm like, and I was like crying in the middle of a cafe, and I had to call my friend and have him calm me down.
Has figured out
like a moment.
The purpose of, I don't know, a lot of things. They're going to read us a poem.
It was a moment.
You can't hear it. That's fine.
They'll get the replay.
Finally fallen into tipsy. It took a while. I was distracted by the cookie dough I got over there. Anyways.
So,
Booktube.
Open Wide is the
I love
moment.
you all. Cheers.
Excuse me. Open Wide is the moment I made that choice, or I was asked to make the choice to say, well, you can either keep doing what you're doing, or you could make a change. And so this is that moment of change, and it's right at the middle of the book, where before it is all
take a chance, make a change, and break away.
Yeah.
Spread your wings and learn how to fly.
I would sing if I could sing. But I can't.
Do it anyway.
I don't know the melody.
Okay.
All right, wide. And I'm building the courage up to go to an open mic. They're on Mondays, so I'm gonna do it one day.
Please go.
I'll record them if I do. Probably next week.
No, have somebody FaceTime me.
I mean, I could. Okay, this is Open Wide, number 6. Wait. Oh. This boy believes in transubstantiation. That broken bread on the altar and poured wine from a cup becomes real flesh and blood, lit under stained glass, white light into blue and red and green. It is the way flesh and blood catch in my throat. Sometimes I close my eyes and see visions of burning deserts and drowning deep, swallowing me in a cool touch, a warm embrace. It is nighttime, laying on my back, eyes resting on the ceiling. I am still, but the air is dancing, its prince commanding. Your voice is a soft wind, my lungs at capacity, my throat parched and longing. It is my eyes burning while closed, like you put street lamps beneath my eyelids, and I am the obelisk, flickering, incomplete. Moonlight stained like parchment with invisible ink. It is a terror wasting years in fear and four walls. The air is suffocating. I am simple flesh, oxygenated blood. You are wide open, endless flowing, more than I can bear. It is a gentle touch. A cat's traipse over my sleeping body, atop my pillow, across my legs. It is lying at my side until I wake. It is a careful love, asking to be found, bearing my name, open wide. And then the one that comes after is terracotta. My given name means the first word in every stanza. Angel, I am terracotta, buried triplicate. Angel, I'm lost like splayed fingers on splintered round tables. Angel, I am powerful, behold, made divine, an evocation. Angel, I have heard your message, that I am known, and I am loved. Angel, I have seen with distant eyes and touched with soft lips worthy. Angel, I have found my healing pool. The compassion I show others turned upon my deepest wounds. Terracotta.
That's so good. I'm so proud of you for writing all this. That was amazing.
More wine.
I'm emotional.
Cheers to Jul.
Cheers to Jul.
Chink.
Amazing.
So, the goal is to write number 2.
Oh my god.
Technically, the goal is by next April, but it's going to be earlier than that. It'll be like in the fall, and submit the whole thing to like one of the big like button poetry.
Send it
I really
to
love
all
the
of
work.
them.
But yeah, I'll just send it to all of them. I almost applied for a fellowship, but there was like it was too much of a fellowship. Like I don't want to quit my job and only write poetry. Like I like my job, so I didn't do it. But I want to submit and see if I can get published next year. Because why not? What's the difference between?
You're amazing.
We'll see, but.
Oh god, I want to have like a thing that I like made that I can like have and show.
Poetry is having a resurgence. It's being read a lot with what's her name that did Milk and Honey.
Mhm.
It's plagiarized and not very good quality.
But it's I've seen a lot.
We sell so many of them though.
I've seen a lot more poetry books though for sale.
Yeah, that is the thing. Sometimes you need kind of like a mass market version to like help along everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, I can give poetry recommendations. I bought a bunch of books this year probably. Everybody needs to read this. It's called Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong.
I was looking at it the other day because we do have that. No,
He's on Tumblr.
Okay, yeah, no, you would, if you haven't read this, you should read this, I think, because I think it's just good, but he wrote an article for Mother's Day.
Yes.
About his mom. Which is very interesting and very different than my experience, although I kind of understand like where he's coming from. But it was really interesting. I really liked it.
Good. And this was one of the first ones I read too. I read it last year. Anyways.
No, but
if you like Black Tide.
Yeah. But also it was interesting because Fishy, who for all intents and purposes is my little brother, his mom was a Vietnamese refugee. So, like, she ended up in, like, a very different place. But, like, I feel like they had, like, a somewhat, like, comparable relationship. And, like, maybe not the same, like, conclusions, but, like, the same issues, I think.
I'll read it the second one.
Yeah.
Invocation to Daughters, Barbara Jane Reyes. Filipino-American from the Bay, and writes about how violence on women's or female bodies overseas becomes invisible, and she writes prayers about them. So she writes like psalms and hymns about it, and it's freaking beautiful, and also like really unsettling because of how the violence has become so clear and really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then number 3, The Soft Life, Bridget Talone, I don't know. She writes about witches a little bit, which is why I was like, I'm getting this book because there's some witches in here.
Love witches.
And it's very whimsical, but it's very sharp whimsical, as if this, like, the way women are supposed to act, this very, like, aloof whimsicalness, gets twisted into a knife and then it goes stab, 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 but in ways that seem random but are not. You would love this book. Actually, it's the first snap I sent her. It was, hey, I got into Harry Potter fan fiction. What do you think? And she was like, that's fucking cool. I love fan fiction. And then that's the whole journey.
Oh my god.
Started.
Did I tell you that when Luther was on deployment, I sent him USBs of different fan fictions so he could stay caught up? And he reads my fic religiously, and
I already love your love.
And he calls me and tells me how much he loves my writing, and I'm like, thank you for loving me, even though I'm so weird. But he fully supports me in everything.
I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I love you because you're so weird.
No. I'm getting even weirder, and he fully supports me in all of it.
Yo, one of the things about getting married young is you got more time to be more weird.
You know, the only problem...
Lean into it!
The only problem is he's, like, kind of conservative, but other than that, he's perfect. It's like... So I counter when he tries to talk politics with me, I start talking about my GI issues. So I think I've almost, like...
You're my favorite person right now.
I think I've almost,
Please
like...
talk to me about GI issues.
I've almost,
Do it.
like, behavior, like, changed him so that he doesn't talk about me, because, like, halfway through, I'm like, do you know what happened the other day? Like, I just spent 15 minutes unclogging my toilet, and he, like, doesn't talk about politics very much around me anymore, so...
Tu media naranja. That's how you say it.
The rest of it's worth it.
How you say it?
Like, the phrase that means soulmate in Spanish means, the other half of your orange.
Wait, say it again?
Media naranja.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I wrote a thing one time describing us, and it was like, when you're, like, before you meet a person, you're like when you go into an antique store and you see this, like, really cool, like, salt shaker, and it's, like, super antique, and you're like, yo, that's super, like, dope and, like, awesome china, and it's, like, cool by itself. But then you find its matching pepper shaker, and you're like, oh, they're so much better together. I have a set now. And that's how I describe, like, being in love. Is like, you find that person. It's like, you're cool by yourself, but then when you're together, you're like a set.
You find the other half of your orange.
Yeah, the other half of your orange. I like that.
No, wait. This is before we all met. Okay. So I was at a birthday party, and I was, like, very, very in the mood, and I was like, I just need to find a poor sucker. And I did, and he was sweet, he was cute, and we had vaguely matching outfits. It's great. Potentially really, really rich. I don't know. Point is, shy. End of the night, I was like, this kid probably isn't going to kiss me. I'm probably going to have to do it myself. So I did, and I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. And then I was like, wait. I am 2 blocks from one of the only IHOPs in Manhattan. And so I just kind of, like, I was against, like, a counter, so this was some maneuvering. I just kind of, like, walked out the door and went to IHOP.
You know that probably 17% of my communication with my husband is just meows? Just meow back and forth to each other.
Oh, that's so adorable.
He sent me a text the other day.
I love it.
Oh
he was
my
like,
god.
tired meow in your general direction. So when I'm tired and I just meow at him, he knows to get in bed and cuddle me because I need physical touch, but I'm sleepy. It's like, meow, meow, meow. And then he comes and finds me.
I hate it. You'll make me believe in love, but also feel more lonely.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.
I've emptied a whole champagne bottle.
I also get surprisingly no, it's not surprising. I get very slutty. The later it is, the less I've slept and the drunker I've gotten.
I literally am good at my job because I look like a Disney princess. That's like 90% of my appeal.
Can you put that on your job apps?
Right? That would be a way
Looks
to
like
start
Disney
out.
princess.
Looks like Disney princess. That could possibly work.
But I sent Laura Osnes just did a cover of it, but she changed the pronouns and it didn't really make sense because the song is Jamie singing to Kathy, and so he says Kathy a lot because he's singing to her. But then she changed it, but she wasn't singing instead of like you, and she changed like the I's and me's to he's. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, who the fuck are you, Kathy, talking to yourself? Mm-hmm. Or are you talking to Kathy about Jamie? And I was like, Laura, just make it gay. Just make it gay. It's okay. Here's we can go looking together. Here's the difficulty. Men suck.
Right? They do.
You're like the only exception.
Where you can,
I once thought Tinder was not what it was. I thought it was a talking to people app.
I mean, it is.
Did you
but I didn't think.
Did you try and talk to people on it?
I didn't know that it was for what it was.
I'm so bad at it because I'm just kind of like, it's a pillow. It's a pet.
It's a
pillow.
What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. On the touchy thing, I realized this year that I'm a cat, so I have two modes.
I am also a cat, which is weird.
But cats have two modes of existing in the world. Mode A: leave me the fuck alone. Don't touch me. Don't even look at me. If you see me, you don't see me. And 2, I am your god now. Serve me. And it's alternating all the time.
I really like naps, and I like people playing with me and stroking me. And like kind of face nuzzling. Yeah. That's fun.
I knew that my husband was the one because he's like the only person that I'm cool with like total like physical touch. I like totally snuggle him. He's like the only person I do that to. Do I look like Penny now?
Yeah. It's really great.
It's impressive. But okay.
Controversial question. How many people does there need to be for it to be
away.
An orgy?
More than 3.
That's what I say. I know a lot of people who say 5 because 4 is a foursome, but I'm like, okay, then 5 is a fivesome, 6 is a sixsome. Like, no. After some point, it's just an orgy.
Yeah, 4 or more is an orgy in my mind.
My friend had an orgy at an anime convention.
And like group of people.
Conventions go crazy. I don't go to them. Scary stuff.
I'm a very wholesome anime person, so it's like the idea of it getting like kinky. I'm like, no, I like my little innocent babies, not like the weird stuff.
Stay pure.
I know. I'd like try and Google stuff sometimes, and I'm like, nope, never Googling any anime-related things ever again.
Oh my god. Griffey put up another Tiduri Tidwar.
Oh my god, I love Griffey. I just sent her an ask, actually. Like,
I love Griffey too.
I love Griffey.
Griffey's bae. For somebody who does not write smut at all, like, I am very adamant about it existing and it being good. Like, it's not that I'm, like, against it or don't want to. I'm probably, like, it'd probably be really bad if I did it. But what happens is that, like, flowery metaphors come out. I wrote a music metaphor in dog clothes. I'm like, okay. Like, they're making out on a dance floor. What comes out is, like, like a dissonant step or like the harmonies and Mandarin. I'm like, why am I like this?
I know. I get on the.
Why can't we just get some kinky shit here? But
I know.
no.
I definitely get on the metaphor train. I make it way too.
I don't know what you're talking about, dear.
It's weird. I don't know. My next smut, though, I'm writing smut for you, Melina, in the next chapter.
We don't need to talk about it.
I know, but I have like my total like an FU moment for Snape because I always have that.
Best thing.
Mm-hmm.
I only need to like recognize you as the author of Castle when I want to yell at you. Otherwise, I need to keep it separate from our relationship, or else it gets weird.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But yeah, no, I loved my last chapter when I just got to like rant about Snape in there.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Like,
I was gonna be like, you loved how you just left us all hanging in despair like that. You horrible person. No, but that was some quality rant.
I know. I was like, this is one of my proudest moments, tearing him apart like that and getting to have Lily say it to him. And like, yeah, you're a trash human being. Here we go. That was fun. I love witches. I love them so much. Such an identity. I love that we're like as women taking back witchiness.
But actually.
And being like, come at us. I'll fight you. I'll curse you.
I take great pride in the facts that if I was like somehow miraculous, like Outlander gave me this weird complex about like I'm really worried if I am suddenly like involuntarily like sent back in time because I'm not vaccinated against smallpox because we got rid of that in like the 60s, 70s. But also like I'm 100% sure if I was sent back, people would be like, "You're a witch," and I'd be like, "You know what? You're right."
So I feel like you are like the leather jacket wearing witch, you know?
Oh my god. Do you want to see them?
That like kind of like urban fantasy type of like edgy witch. And I'm like the mix between like a hedge witch and just like a fairy, you know?
Mm.
And then Jewel is like that mysterious witch. You know? Just like shrouded in mystery.
They have like 10 different stories told about them.
And like so like much wisdom.
And then you like find them and then they're like, "Do you want some tea?"
Exactly. That's so true. That's how I feel like Jewel. I know. Jewel, you're such a witch.
Oh, I have
it's
a
my
hat.
own way of being very extra.
I brought my hat, but it's too far. I'm here now.